So Representative Steve King, a known white nationalist, believes that he's been treated very poorly and makes an interesting comparison. Watch.
And it's been, and all that for all that I've been through, it seems even strange for me to say it, but I'm at a certain peace, and it's because of a lot of prayers for me. And when I had to step down to the floor of the House of Representatives and look up at those 400 and some accusers, we've just passed through Easter and Christ's Passion, and I have a better insight into what he went through for us, partly because of that experience. And so I'm grateful that we are the people we are, that we have not only we have a strong Christian ethic here and a high percentage of people that are true believers. We have all of that going for us, but it's also in our culture. And we don't think about it very often about how much our Christian faith echoes through who we are as a people.
Okay, so that's a lot of nothing. But basically, the important part there was how he compared himself to Jesus. Hey guys, I know what Jesus went through because I was accused of being a white nationalist. Oh, no, you don't. Does anybody else find that incredibly ironic? Jesus, who was not white, if he ever existed, of course, was never accused of white supremacy. Steve King, of course, is nowhere near Jesus. Look, and let me tell you what he got in trouble for. Making racist comments during an interview with the New York Times. In the article, King, as part of a defense of what he said was in the culture of America, asked how certain terms had become controversial. Now, you know what those terms were? White nationalist, white supremacist, and Western civilization. He said, quote, "How did that language become offensive? Why did I sit in classes teaching me about the merits of our history and our civilization when that's offensive?" Well, wait a minute. Okay, you want to talk about Western civilization, which, look, let's be honest, to people who are, who are white supremacists or white nationalists, Western civilization, I think, is a code word for white people, right? And so even that, I mean, problematic, right? But he's just openly saying, nah, white nationalist, nah, white supremacist. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with being any of that? When did that become offensive? You know, it didn't just become offensive. It was always offensive. It's literally saying that white people are better than everyone else. If you're a black person, if you're a Latino, you're an Asian, and you hear that, and that of course will be offensive. That's always been offensive. Never was not offensive. But now there's a lot of white people that are like, oh yeah, it turns out that is kind of offensive. That are starting to hold people like Steve King to account. Which back in the 50s and earlier than that, it was more acceptable to be more white nationalist or white supremacist. So, and it was acceptable in the culture, but never really all that acceptable. Now, Steve King, of course, is like, how's that a bad thing? What are you talking about? No, white people are fantastic. In fact, we created modern civilization. I mean, look, you know, go ahead and ignore all the other different contributions and all the other different, like, ethnicities and nationalities that created amazing things. We wouldn't have algebra if it weren't for the Arabics. You know, math and science. Look, Muslims, I mean, that's a big target for Steve King, right? Muslims, during the times of the Middle Ages, where you had, you know, white Europeans basically living in a cesspit, right? I mean, it's horrible times. Here you had Muslims creating great masterworks of art and culture and technology. But no, it's all the white people that are fantastic. And I'm not disparaging white people. I'm a white person. But I'm being historically accurate, which unfortunately white nationalists and white supremacists like Steve King, they can't afford to be historically accurate. Because all they see is, I have to be better than someone else. I have to be, or else, what am I? That my entire identity is hinged on being better than other people. I mean, it makes no sense. And of course, Steve King, right? Once people call that out, once he got in trouble for this, he, of course, did the Trump route, blaming the media. Quote, "We know that what the news media has done continuously. Each thing starts out with some formerly credible organization that launches this, and then we have this phenomenon that America is not ready for, and that this cyberbullying that unleashes." I'm a victim. Look at me being cyberbullied by the news media for just repeating the things that I've actually said and pointing out the horrible things that I've said before. You know, like, you can't rebuild your civilization with someone else's babies. That's a quote. And he had supported far-right Dutch nationalist. I think it was Geert Wilders or something like that. Who, yeah, again, white supremacist, right? But no, I'm a victim. I'm a victim just like Jesus was victimized. Does he know that Jesus was not white and was also Jewish? And again, when you have that white nationalism, white supremacy, you know what also comes around with that, right? Anti-Semitism. Jesus, if he existed, was neither white nor Christian. He was Jewish. And likely Arab. Or at least Middle Eastern. I wouldn't say Arab, but Middle Eastern. Let's stay with that, right? Something tells me that if Jesus actually did come back, the Republican Party would hate him. Oh my God, look at this socialist. He's going after the bankers. Yeah, that's what Jesus allegedly did in the Bible. He went into the temple and overturned the tables of the money changers and chased them out with a whip. That guy's awesome. I'd like to have that guy in my team. Chase out those bankers. Not to mention, Jesus would probably not buy into America First white supremacy. It would be a bit awkward, let's be honest. But thankfully for Steve King, he doesn't have to worry about any of that. So he can be as hypocritical as he wants, as long as he continues to win elections by pandering to some of the worst of the Republican base. And that's what he will continue to do until he loses. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.